I would like to introduce you all to my new son. This here is Dr. Wu Menace King. Which one is it? I've got the box here. It's DWE36X Menace King. It's the one that's in the vaguely toyish colors, not the animation colors, and it's a Megatron. This is also the first, I think, Dr. Wu figure I've ever handled, so that's something. To be clear up front, I got this guy basically as a filler. Kind of. The Chosen Prime had their convention exclusive, the TFCon exclusive Obsidian Blade, I think it was called, the Energon Wing Saber in Nemesis colors, because I wanted to get that for the Energon Nemesis Prime that they did, Obsidian Commander. In order to get the free shipping, I needed to tack a little bit more money onto my order. And I didn't want to just get any old arbitrary thing. I've been kind of looking at this guy for a little bit on Shozy, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to cash in some of my points. And I basically got this little guy for $10. He's normally $30, but $10 is great, and $30 is also great. And yeah, so here we go, Menace King. And I absolutely adore this little thing. And before we get into it, we really have to talk about what I mean when I say little thing. Because if you're not familiar with Dr. Wu's current stable of figures that they tend to be doing, they're small. And I'm not talking Legends scale. For instance, here he is with a tiny turbo changer. He is bigger, but not by much. But if we bring in Universe Legends Megatron, he towers over Menace King. This is like Voyager and Leader, but like at a much, like the discrepancy between them, I mean, is more Voyager and Leader, but like they're so small. He is so small. In fact, we're just going to do all the size comparisons now. Why not? So we'll bring in Sunstreaker, Deluxe Sunstreaker. And while we're at it, let's just bring in the other size comparisons. So here he is with Samus and Ova Prime. And Tarn/Stalker. It's not even, yeah. And the Duck Tank. Like, seriously, he looks like he could ride inside the Duck Tank. So yeah, this is a very tiny Megatron. And that's freaking adorable. But what I really love about this is it's a tiny Megatron that's actually, like, got some nice detailing and posability to it. Now, I love that I can just hold it like this. But you can see, just how well detailed and painted this guy is. Like, he's got the silver on the shins, the red on the insides. He's got a lot of that Telltale Megatron gray, but he also has the black underwear and black gloves. He's got the fusion cannon, obviously. But then you also have this other stuff going on, like all his little buttons and whatnot in his midsection, like the vents picked out in silver, the little bits of yellow down there. He's got his little chest hairs. His face is probably not going to be in focus, but like it's painted silver. His eyes are even red from what I can tell. Not red, yellow. They're yellow. But point is, they actually painted quite a bit on this little guy. Also, the kind of gunmetal on the shins and some gunmetal on the toes, it looks like. Considering the fact that this guy is so tiny, he's got a lot of really nice detail on him. And he's also, like, really clean, aside from the junk on his arm there. But, like, there's a reason for it. And again, look at how... Just remember how small this guy is. He's so small. The head, it's really hard to see, but it looks like Megatron has got the Telltale cuboid bonbon look, the bucket head, and he kind of looks angry. It's hard to tell because it's so tiny, but he's in there. As for articulation, the head is on a tiny ball joint, but it can rotate. It can rotate all the way around if you want. I guess you can look down slightly, but can look up a fair-ish bit. What's tricky about this is the head is on like this little platform thing that doesn't peg into anything, and it's also on this little rotating stalk. So I'm like trying to move the head, and it's just moving the stalk. But there, if you get the ball joint involved, he can do this. So I guess you could do like the G1 cartoon Decepticons flying thing. The arms are a little bit different. So this arm with the fusion cannon is on a ball joint, so it can rotate and it can go out to 90, and because of the ball joint, you get the tiniest bit of rotation, and then you get a single joint in the elbow that can bend up to 90, and then the fist can, like, you can kind of rotate it in, but like there's no real reason to do that, and that's all that this hand or this arm can do. This arm, it's also the shoulders on a ball joint. It gets a little bit more range for the rotation. It can go out to 90, but also there's this extra hinge in here as for the for the transformation, so like it can kind of shrug up and down a bit, and of course can rotate all the way around. And the elbow, as you can see, is ball joints, so he can still bend this arm actually a little bit past 90, but in addition to that, he actually gets what amounts to a bicep swivel, which, yeah, it's a ball joint, but like, again, this is a tiny toy. But yeah, this arm is a little bit more posable than this arm, and also the fist can rotate down rather than in if you wanted to do that. But again, there's no real purpose for it. The midsection, as you may have noticed, can come unpegged because of the way it transforms. It's not like, it doesn't flop out or anything like that, but it's kind of easy, especially with how tight the ball joints and the shoulders are, to accidentally untab it. He does actually get a waist rotation though. Despite the fact that he is so small, he has a waist rotation. He has hips that can go out that far. Unfortunately, his hip movement is kind of hampered, so he can't really go out that far. He can only kick forward about that far. You can kind of get a little creative with it by using the ball joints to angle it out more, but then it's kind of at this weird angle. And you can go back about that far. There's kind of a drop down joint, but that's just for transformation. It just kind of spreads the hips out more, and that doesn't really help get you more articulation. You do not get a thigh swivel, which is a bummer, but I mean, look at how big this guy is. He's smaller than this and has way more articulation already. And this guy doesn't have thigh swivels either, so I'm okay with it. It's a little bit of a bummer, but it's fine. But yeah, you can use the ball joint in the hip for kind of an approximation of a thigh swivel, and it's good enough that I don't really think you feel that absence of a thigh swivel if you start using those ball joints. And then you also get a knee that, well, the knee only bends to there, but if you get the transformation joint involved, you can bend it much, much further, and it starts to look a little bit weird, but he does have decent-ish range as long as you don't mind breaking the sculpt a bit. And the toes actually do also get articulation. They can, as you can kind of see here, they can move up and down a bit, but they also rotate. It's just a toe tilt, it's not a proper like ankle tilt, but still. This guy, for what he is, like for this size and everything, I am in love with how posable he is. Like, that's pretty expressive for such a little guy. But this little guy can also transform, and that's really wild. So to start, going to unplug the fusion cannon. There's just a little peg here and like this little notch on the back of the fist, and the little peg goes into this square bit towards the back of the fusion cannon, and then this little kind of U-shaped opening here is where that notch on the fist goes. So this will just go off to the side for now. The right arm with the fusion cannon straightens out, and then this folds down. Get all of this kind of straightened out. The body will unplug, as we saw before. The gun barrel up here can kind of fold out a little bit, and also while we're doing this, we can fold that bit to straighten it out. The head platform folds out. The head can then rotate in on that little stalk, and then all that tucks back in. Okay, just looked at the directions, and according to the directions, you actually want to use that extreme angle ball joint to get the head back like that, and then rotate it around. This is going by the directions, so hopefully this will work better, because the I don't know if that's actually going to fit in there. It doesn't seem to want to. Yeah, that doesn't actually want to fit in the cavity there, so I don't really understand what the point is. So anyway, fold that in, and this is like the top of the head there will kind of get in the way in the alt mode, but I don't really know of a way to get around that. The instructions say to rotate the head like along that ball joint, so it's kind of like angled all like up, and it doesn't work. So I don't know. Let's see if doing it sideways works, maybe. Will you even rotate around? It does rotate. Ah, that's what it... Okay. We figured it out. You have to rotate the head on that ball joint and do it sideways, and it fits. Okay. But anyway, this arm can kind of straighten out. The fist will rotate in, and it rotates in all the way. This piece back here will now come out, rotate around, and there's like this little notch on the back side of the fist that this little tab will go into, and that helps to solidify that. This piece will rotate around and shift down like this, and there are these little tabs down here and these little grooves on the sides of the elbow that those tabs kind of sit in. Flare out the hip skirts and then pull out these little extra flaps from the hip skirts. Fold that out. The legs will shift down on those little joints to bring them closer together, and then they will peg together. Want to take these black pieces, and they will actually pull away slightly, pull away a little bit, and this basically can bring the toe down and get a little more clearance. This will rotate 180 degrees around, and do that on this side as well. Take the toe, get that kind of out of the way, and then spin this. We'll do it this way. Spin this around 180. Peg these back together because they came untabbed. Rotate the waist like so, and this will shift forward, and these kind of little tabs here on the underside of what used to be the forearm will go into this cavity back here. It's not like a dedicated tab like peg hole thing, but it will clip into place. This can come around, and there's a little tab on the end of the back side of the fist that will tab into this little slot on the side of what used to be the midsection. So this all shifts in and tabs in. This swings around and will tab into the front there, giving us the proper gun barrel. And now to finish all of this off, the legs bend at this red joint. So those flip around all the way around, and these little gray tabs back here will tab into these little slots back here, and then the undersides of the feet here will tab into these little slots on the back here. So this all swings around, tabs in, and tabs in, and finally the little flappy doos can shift down. You kind of also want to make sure this is rotated to give clearance, but like these shift down and sort of tab settle into place. Fortunately, you've got enough leeway that you can just kind of angle these as you need to make sure you've got the room. Let's bring that in, make sure this is all shored up, and then we can bring the fusion cannon back in, plug that into the top, and there we go. There we have a itty bitty Megatron in gun mode. Very itty bitty. Is not exactly super keen to look at from either side. Like this side has a bunch of screws, this side has his chest hairs and midsection greeblies and stuff, so it looks a little awkward, but again, this is tiny. It's a very tiny articulated Megatron that actually turns into a gun. I'm willing to give it a pass. Not that I'm the be-all end-all, but you know. And I do think it's actually kind of clever because of the size they had to do this, but like I like that the trigger and trigger guard are just this one panel, and it's painted in a way that really makes it show, like makes that trigger show on both sides. And yeah, it's a cheat. Yes, it's a little bit awkward looking, and it doesn't really look right, but again, this thing is so small. Like, look at how I have to hold this in my hand. It's so small. It's so small, Studio Series Sideways can almost hold it. So yeah, it is very compromised. It is not really going to be easy for anyone to like roleplay with this or to put it in most figures' hands. Unless they're like bigger combiners that have like articulated fingers, they could probably just wrap the fingers around and hold it that way. But like, there's no dedicated thing for this to peg in anywhere to anyone's hands, and that's fine. You've got the main body of the gun is like super narrow compared to the grip, which is like much, much thicker. But again, this thing is so small. It is so small that it's fine. Yes, compromised, but I don't care because it's adorable and fun to mess with. The transformation is actually really straightforward, not that complicated whatsoever. And like I was able to do this without looking at instructions out of the box. And he even comes with all this junk. So we can take this, and these bits are keyed. You can kind of see there's like a flat end there and a flat part there. So this is keyed to go together in a specific way. We push that together to make the stock, and this will, it basically, there's like, it doesn't slide in. They're like these tiny little, I'm not sure how to show this. They're these tiny little grooves, like circular shaped grooves back there. And these little circular peggy things on the underside here. Basically, it just goes in like that, and those bits kind of clamp over it. And it does hold. And then this piece, like with most Megatrons, there's just a little slot up there with a little hole there, and you just slide it over the barrel here. And there we have the full Megatron. And again, it's silly, but I do kind of love it. Only thing that sucks is you can't really do anything with this extra junk in the robot mode. Yeah, just check the instructions. There's nothing in there about it, so whatever. One thing that is kind of disappointing about this, though. Notice the barrel looks like it could be a 5mm port. It is not. So blast effects can't go in there. The same deal with the actual gun barrel. It doesn't fit. It is too snug. It might be 4mm, it might be 3mm, I don't know, but it doesn't work, and that's a little bit of a shame. Seems like a missed opportunity, but whatever. I still do think this is fantastic. I'm going to take all this stuff off, though. Okay, size comparisons in gun mode are going to be interesting. This gun mode, it's not really any bigger or smaller than the robot. It's just kind of like things have shifted to one side, so it's a little bit lopsided, but there he is. There he is with Tarn/Stalker, and he's almost the size of the gun there, except for the grip. And here he is with the duck tank. Alright, now to transform this back, it's just going the opposite direction. Pop this off, put that off to the side. Want to untab these little flaps. They don't really tab in, but you want to separate these out. And while we're here, we can also take these little bits and just fold those around so that they're a little bit shorter, a little bit more out of the way. The toes can untab from the back, as well as these little bits down here, these tiny little gray bits down here untabbing from the red slots in there. This can all rotate around. Take this little black piece and rotate that around 180 degrees on either side. And I don't think it has to go in a particular direction. Just rotate it around. And it's pretty easy to line up this way. It just lines up with the curvature of the shins. And then the toes can go up. And we'll untab the legs. And as explained before, there's that extra joint in there to separate the hips. So you just kind of pull to separate that out. And then the hip skirts can come back down. They can sit at a couple of different angles. I prefer to have them kind of like almost parallel to the waist. It makes them stand out a little bit more, but I also think it gets them out of the way of the hips better. This piece here can untab and swing around. This piece here can untab and swing up. This will untab from the back of the fist, rotate to the side, and then swing around 180 degrees, and then the fist can be rotated out of that little cavity. And there we go. And I'll just give the bicep a little rotation to get the arm more or less oriented the way it's going to be for robot mode. Here, you can untab this from here, bring this up. Might as well rotate the waist so that the front, mid, like all the colored bits for the midriff are pointing forward. The fist here, you can grab the hammer and just pull that up to reveal the fist, and then we can take the fusion cannon and just put that on there. Bring this down, give the elbow a little bend, why not? And now, last little bit, getting the head out is a little tricky. I find it works best to push up from the bottom to get this panel started, and then you can bring this out the rest of the way. But what's tricky about it is getting the head out. Though when you orient it properly, you can actually get a fingernail in there to grab the end of the face or head, helmet, whatever. So ignore what I said. It's actually pretty easy to get the head out when you transform it properly. So this can come up, swing the head up and rotate it forward, and then this all comes back down. The barrel folds up, and then this folds up along the back, and then finally this whole torso bit can come down, peg in, and we are in robot mode once again. And that does it for Dr. Wu's Menace King. This is a really cute little Megatron that is fun to mess with. I do have just a couple of small nitpicks. Obviously the gun doesn't look perfect, but like I don't care because of the size. Really, my nitpicks are, I think, a little bit more reasonable, considering I wish that the torso here wasn't quite as easy to unpeg. It's not easy to unpeg. I just wish it was a little bit more secure. I also do wish that the secondary joint here that's used to swing the arm down for transformation was a little bit more solid, because it's actually looser than the ball joint for the shoulder, so when I try to move this arm I tend to bring that down instead. But it's all minor stuff, and it's stuff I could probably address on my own in the future. Like the thighs are also, or hips rather, are a little bit loose compared to some of the other stuff, but again, like, not terrible. And considering the size, it's not like they're floppy or anything like that. They hold just fine. This thing is too small and too light for the joints to be too much of a problem. It's just easy to knock them out of place unintentionally. That's the thing that bugs me about them a little bit. But yeah, this is a really cool, cute little Megatron, and I love him, and I hate that I got around to trying out Dr. Wu's tiny figures now, because once upon a time they made a tiny Nemesis Prime, and I absolutely want to get that now, but it was made long enough ago that it's sold out everywhere. At least everywhere I've checked so far. So I'm going to have to wait for a reissue or just live with never getting it. But I do like this. And I will be keeping an eye on Dr. Wu's tiny figures going forward. Like, give me a tiny Jazz? Absolutely. Anyway, that's going to do it. So that is all I have to say about Dr. Wu's Little Bitty Menace King. What do you all think of this guy? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all, unless you're going to be a pedantic jerk about it. There have been a few. I do not appreciate that. But thank you everybody for watching. And, well, I don't really know how to sign off, because by now the other video that I haven't recorded yet, but will probably get uploaded before this, has gone live, in which I've talked about my plans for the channel in the future, and I don't really know when the next video is going to be. But it has been a pleasure. Hope to continue talking to toys with you all in the future in some capacity, whether that's through social media, through the Discord, or possible future videos. Who knows? See you all around.